coming to you from the My Little Falls studio here in beautiful Little Falls, New York. It's your host, Scott Kinville, and another episode of Marty's Illegal Stick.
Hey, what's up, hockey fans, and welcome to episode number 30 of Marty's Illegal Stick, the big 3-0. I don't know, is there some kind of, I know like Diamond Anniversary is 25. What's 30?
30 is lucky we made it here.
Okay, it's rubber puck. Okay, right. Good.
You're nylon, aren't they? Now?
Well, is it? Oh, we don't want to know about nylon and hockey. All right, forget that idea entirely. Okay. So, anyway, glad to be back this week. We have a very historic flavor for this show today, and we want to get started right away. But first, I want to let you know that there will be no Gumper this week. No Gump. Leo has got a meeting tonight that he just can't miss, and he's got to miss the show this week, but he will be back next week.
Okay. I mean, he has his priorities all messed up.
Wait, I have a question. Did you ask him the trivia question before?
No. So he could go 0 for 30.
Yes.
No.
All right.
Listen, he's got a meeting at the Legion. I don't want him at the bar until 11 o'clock trying to figure it out. Okay. Forget that. So pinch hitting for him as the in-studio co-host. You're going to have a double bill this week, Dave the Save. Dave the Save Warner, our producer and co-host in studio this week. How you doing, pal?
I'm doing great. Just back from Austin, Texas. And
I heard.
I was trying to get by and see the Texas Stars facility and all. I just never got over that far. The traffic is wicked down there. So.
No, you were just having too much barbecue and you couldn't tear yourself away, could you?
And Tex-Mex. Oh, my God. If I show you the pictures, you'll die.
You know what? You're probably
awesome.
Right.
It was awesome.
Yeah, I don't know if I need that now.
I just went from one to the other and I alternated. Barbecue, Mexican. You know,
that sounds like a commercial in the makes.
I can do that.
Dave's Tex-Mex Barbecue.
We'll run it next week.
You're selling My Little Falls and you're going Tex-Mex.
That's it. I'm going.
I like it.
Also joining us this week from his home tonight, not the rink, from his home. Our co-host, the Professor, Jeremy Roberts. What's up, brother?
Very good. Nothing new. Just tonight's an off night. Playing tomorrow night.
Oh, well, that's right. Yeah, because we
usually do on Wednesday.
Yeah, well, because of me, we had to go Tuesday night this week. So
yeah, so it's actually a pretty big hockey weekend for me this week because I got Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday we're off to Buffalo because my son's got a big Battle of Buffalo tournament. So
really,
yeah. Is
it going to be at the Harbor Center or is it
I get from what I see, it's a pretty big tournament. It's everything from 18U all the way down to 8U. So
no kidding.
There's like 3 rinks involved. So who knows where we are.
Hey, you know what? As long as you can hit the anchor bar and get some of those wings, you're good. Don't worry.
I mean, we have a lot of downtime. So, I mean, we have like a 6-hour gap. So who knows what trouble I'll be in by the time the later game rolls around.
I do Tex-Mex and Jeremy does wings.
I know, right? And I can't cook, so I'm just going to have to live vicariously through you guys in the cooking. So.
All right.
Also joining us on the co-hosting end of things is our friend from the Rink of Dreams, Mr. Barry Shelley. What's going on, Barry?
Hey, Scott. Not much. Just getting things set up for the reunion in a couple months. And
it's coming in August, right?
In August, yep. And getting more jerseys set up, hung up, and just staying busy. And then looking forward to tonight because, Tom, he's right up my alley with the minor league hockey. This is what the rink was built in honor of, was all the players of minor league hockey.
Well, I got a feeling you guys are going to go together like peanut butter and chocolate. See, we got to tie this into food.
You would not say peanut butter and jelly.
I know. Right? Why?
You want to know why? Because I had a Reese's earlier. That's why I'm thinking of that.
Okay.
So
I'll go get you one in the break.
Hey, good.
All right.
Very good.
Yeah.
Just, Tex-Mex Reese's.
All right.
How's that?
Yep.
And anyway, I want to bring in our special guest for tonight. This guy is an expert on the Eastern Hockey League. He runs the Eastern Hockey League page on the Facebook and also the EHL.com. It is our pleasure to bring in Mr. Tom Talar. Tom, how you doing?
Awesome.
Thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's nice to let people know what we're doing. There's still a lot of people out there that's still probably players and stuff that don't know what we're doing. And if we can somehow get the word out to them, that would be awesome.
Absolutely. So go ahead and tell us how all this got started for you.
Well, so let's start with me. Just grew up in South Jersey. You're going to be talking about my rink a little later, I understand. So that'll be cool. Actually, right across from Philadelphia, you cross the Delaware River, go 3 houses in, and there we were. We could look out our window and see the lights from where the Spectrum was back in the 60s. Vet Stadium. So we weren't like a hockey family. I didn't grow up starting with hockey. It was just something. My brother was like twice my size. He was about 3 years older than me, and he was the football player. And he was, and so I needed to kind of have my own path. So I kind of steered off instead of baseball and football, things that he was really good at. I kind of steered off into hockey and soccer, things that nobody in our neighborhood knew a thing about. Because I was always a little bit the weird kid. And actually, it actually goes back to my mom was kind of the impetus. When she was 16 in 1935, she went up to visit her Uncle Charlie in New York City. And he took her to Madison Square Garden to a hockey doubleheader, which may have been an Eastern Hockey League. There's no way we'll ever know. But it may have been an Eastern Hockey League as one of the games, and then either the Metropolitan League, which is the other one that plays at Madison Square Garden, or the Rangers. I don't think it was the Rangers. I think it was the EHL and the smaller league. But and then for our honeymoon, took Dad to New York, and they went to a Rangers game. So mom had this little hockey thing in her. So I had the support, and the games were on. Come the 60s, as say 64, the Philadelphia Ramblers EHL hockey team folds. The Cherry Hill Arena, which has been around couple of years now. In fact, they had a team in 1960-61. They get granted a franchise, which had been blocked for a few years because the Ramblers didn't want competition from 8 miles away. So that became my local team. But it really wasn't until the 69-70 season that I actually got to go to a game. I happened to go to the other class, 6th grade class, and they're like, "Yeah, we went to a Devils game." And I'm like, "What? You didn't invite, you didn't tell anybody?" So, and so I got to go to my first Devils game, and just was pretty hooked. It was pretty much something in my heart. As far as the EHL goes, I'm not I'm more of a historian than I remember. I don't actually remember any goals. I don't remember any fights in particular. I can tell you who won certain games, but so I'm really good at looking stuff up and finding resources and having all this, I put that on the Facebook group, and we follow that along. So how it got started. So anyway, I'm a Devils fan. 73 comes along, and not only do the Devils fold, but the Eastern League splits into 2 different leagues: the North American League, which is the league that became the Slapshot League, and then the Southern Hockey League, and that was one of the EHL's roots. Was that at least during the time frame we talk about, the Southern teams, the EHL really developed in a lot of Southern states. There are a lot of states. The first game they ever had was an EHL game. So anyway, that. It folded, and it just kind of ripped my heart out. It was just something I really loved, and I had no idea that my team could just up and leave like that. And not only the team, but the league. I couldn't even really follow it, quite the same. Not that I didn't have the hockey news and did follow what went on after. So come the 90s, I moved to, I have to move 6 times in 5 years, and my Devil scrapbook, it's time, I got to throw stuff away. And I've got all this Devils scrapbook, I've got photos, I've got pucks, and nobody knows anything about the EHL. There's nobody I'm in touch with that's going to have any interest in this. This is before the internet. This is before eBay. I had 25 years of the hockey news, and it was sitting in my mom's attic, and it was just a fire hazard. And it was like, what do you do with it? Who wants this? Nobody wants this.
I tell you what you don't do with it. Don't bring a match around it.
Yeah.
I trashed it. And the one thing I saved was my Jersey Devils patch.
Oh, that's cool!
Wow, look at that!
And if you look on the Facebook group, that's my logo.
Yeah.
And people, actually, the people in the group, this is probably the first time they're seeing me, because I try to stay in the background and let it be about the players, the league, and all the fans. So anyway, so we've gotten that far. Now my heart is, VHL is just dead in my place. Fast forward to 2008, January 1st, the first Winter Classic. Bob Costas gets on and he tells a story about Ogie Ogilvy. You know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And he invokes the name Jamie Kennedy. And Jamie Kennedy was the star player on the Devils the whole time I was there. The first, as soon as I sat down at my first game, somebody said, "You watch that Jamie Kennedy. He is so great. He's so fun." And total fan favorite every place he played. And something went, as soon as he said the words Jamie Kennedy, something broke open in my heart, and I was like dancing around the living room. It was just, I can't explain it. It's finding lost love, essentially. Right. And so also that year, I had been a software engineer for 20 years. And that year, my wife and I, and then we moved to New Hampshire in 2000. And my wife and I had run our own business. And at 2008, the market just plummeted, and we couldn't sell our what we were doing anymore. So I'm like, okay, I don't want to go back into software engineering because I pretty much burnt out. I was working all hours of the day, and I was just totally fried from that. But I was thinking, well, maybe if I can design websites, so maybe I can create a cool website. I'm going to say maybe something like Bells and Whistles. It's going to do absolutely nothing useful, but it'll do a lot of fun stuff. Just show people, hey,
I think I've built a lot of those websites.
I was just going to say, that's like 90% of YouTube right there.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Oh,
and so during this time, I've still got this Jamie Kennedy. I've got to find, there's nothing on the internet. There's Hockey D Big, and that is like one of the few things you could find about the Eastern League. There was also another gentleman, I'm going to forget his name, but he did SuncoastSuns.com, which was one of the EHL teams, and that was out there, and it was like, oh, maybe I could do a EHL Jersey Devils website. And so suddenly something started clicking, and it was like, and then at some point I went, there's just not going to be enough information out there, and there wasn't at the time. And so I was like, man, I've got to expand this to EHL. I got to do the whole league. And so I looked, and I looked for the web name, and EHL.com somebody had. But the AHL had the AHL.com at the time, and that was a live active league. So I tried the EHL, and amazingly, it was there. And I took that as my sign that, like, oh, I think I'm supposed to be doing this. Although there's that fine line between I really, really want to do this, and I'm supposed to do this. It's hard to tell which is which at times. So once that was there, I got the website up and running, a one pager in a day, because that's all there was at the time, was like one page, and I had like maybe 10 links on it, and my patch, and so we also at that time I found there was a Greensboro hockey boards. And there were a few, so there was a Greensboro Generals fan on there who was a diehard fan. There was Greg Inkpen, where's my book? Got to plug him. At the time, he was just starting getting information for this book right here. John Brophy, that just came out like about a year and a half ago, and definitely well worth the read. By John Brophy by Greg Inkpen.
Right.
He was there. We had a couple of guys. I think we had this Cameron Perry, son of Don Perry, was the New Haven Blades great defenseman coach, but also coached in the NHL with the Los Angeles Kings. He had the famous incident where he pushed the guy on the ice. Hey, go fight, and the guy was like, "No, I'm not doing that." And that was
yes, you are.
Yeah, well,
He's described me. No, I'm not.
So we worked with the message boards. A couple other guys. We had the one guy, John. So bad I've forgotten his Gibbons. Thank you, John Gibbons. From the group, he's been with me from the start. We would be up late at night. We'd talk about EHL, back and forth in the message boards, and he'd, we kind of laugh like there's an echo in here. Nobody, we're the only ones here that really. This doesn't mean anything to anybody but us, but it really meant a lot to us. So, we kept that going, and these guys were kind of my spirit. They kind of kept me going the first year or two because, it just wasn't really taking off. I was writing blogs, but, who's really looking at the blogs? Mm-hmm. And then I eventually made a EHL specific message boards. And then Facebook was originally just a way to say, hey, I just put a blog out. Here's, if you want to read it, here it is. So doing that, after a year, I had 12 people in the group. And it was like, how's this doing? And then finally one day, I was like, okay, I've got to get these people involved. It can't just be me doing stuff, Right. So I just said, everybody post one photo of the EHL, so whatever it means to you. And just the magic happened, and it just took off. We had, soon we're up to 100 people, 500 people. We're currently at 2,700 fans. Wow. We also, players started coming in. Our first player, I'd written a little blog about him. I'd found he was in the Wisconsin Hockey Hall of Fame. And that was Wayne Caulfield, who you may know as grandson Cole.
I was just going to say that, yeah.
And we've all been following. And so Wayne was our first player. We now have 80, 85 players, something like that. I've lost count. So unfortunately, we lost Wayne a couple of years ago suddenly. But his wife Eileen is still with us and still contributes, and that's the players are the best part. Especially we just had Jim Mayer just sign up, and he got to meet up with some guys from Johnstown who he played with. You may remember Mayer from the Flyers, the Islanders. He made the NHL.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So anyway, so back to when I was starting the site, one of the things that triggered it is like, I'm looking for work, trying to figure out what I want to be next. What do I want to be when I grow up? And, so you're reading books like What Color is My Parachute? Stuff like that. One of the things said, And at the time, I'm not working because their business is defunct, and so I'm just figuring out what do I want to be when I grow up. And one of the things it said was, what did you love when you were 10? What did you love when you were 15? Go back and find that. And
I'm not sure she's still around.
Well, yeah. And,
hey, you said that, Dave, not me.
Yeah. I knew you were thinking it.
Yeah. So, but that's, I think there's a huge truth in that. If you go back to what really was important to you back then, you may find things that, you can bring forward. And like I said, it's just been magical. I've had, I've had packages just show up, especially early on. I had packages just show up with, the first one I got was just color copies of program covers from all around the league. And I'd never seen anything except the 4 Years of Devils programs. And it's just tears in my eyes that, that there's all these other people that just loved it. It's been brought to my attention recently that the group is, we're really the only historical group like that out there. For the IHL doesn't really, the WHL, the CHL, they don't really, any other of the defunct leagues, they don't maybe WHA, they were more they were top level professional, not minor league, but there's not the minor league groups like this. And so it was brought to my attention. It was like, hey, you make sure and keep preserving this for everyone. So so anyway, that's kind of how the group kind of evolved. What I do a lot, what I've been doing a lot recently, and this actually through COVID, this was really useful because nobody had sports. Nobody had live sports. So what we would do is I would go through day by day through the newspapers from, say, 50 years ago or 55 years ago today. And I'd either do a playoff series from the newspapers from all those times. And now these days we have most of the EHL cities newspapers, so we can really cover. Whereas back when I first started, there was nothing. There was literally no papers on the internet. I'd have to sit at the library cranking the microfilm to get any articles. Let me see, I've collected over 300 programs. I'm trying to get those posted, and just trying to get people to contribute, from the group, because we have, so many people are still, they still have this love that I did. And it's great for the old players. It's great for the kids that never got to know their parents, that never got to know their dads when they were playing. They were born later and after their careers were over, so they didn't know any. So they're just so appreciative to find out about their dads. So have I gone on too much?
No, not at all. Not at all. Actually, you're making my job very easy because I don't have to do a lot of talking.
Oh, that's good. That's great. I'm glad I can help.
You want a job? No.
Yeah. As I mentioned yesterday, I'm a bit of an introvert, but once you get me going and everybody's nice and quiet, it's hard to shut me up, I think. So,
I think
you're blending well around here.
Is that 30 years of wound up?
Oh, that's great. Yeah, but I mean, what you were saying is so true about it being such a great connection for the players and for their families, especially.
Right.
It's like I was telling you earlier, we're actually in upstate New York. We're the studio is actually about 40 minutes from Clinton, New York, which is, of course, the home of the Clinton Comets.
Yep.
And a legendary EHL team, really. And it's great because Pierre Prevost is a friend of the show. He's been on before.
Absolutely.
Fantastic guy. I mean, we've become friends, and he's just a great guy. And even he was saying, obviously he had his children after he, got done playing, of course, and all that. And it's for as legendary a league as the EHL is, without your website, without your, Facebook page, you're right. It would kind of almost I don't want to say forgotten, but I mean, it amazes me that there really isn't, like you were saying, nothing for like the IHL, especially how big of a league that was for as long.
Yeah. There's some small stuff for teams at Toledo. That's the only one I can think of offhand. The Comets, I think they had a website. They have a website that they do. But yeah, there's not league-wise. There's just nothing out there. And,
right. So what, in your opinion, was some of the things that made the EHL so special that set it apart from the other leagues?
There are a few things. The president of the league for most of its existence was Tommy Lockhart, and he was a real showman. And so he was from New York. He worked his way up through the AAU. He was a track guy in the 20s. So a little history. The EHL kind of started. It was originally the Tri-State League in 1932-33 with Atlantic City Seagulls, Baltimore Orioles, Hershey. Well, it was just Hershey, but the bars, they tried to call them the Hershey bars.
That's a good one.
And this is just going off prohibition.
Yeah. And also something, the Philadelphia Comets, who went 0-16 that season.
Runaway success.
Yeah, and they had the leading scorer after like 8 games, and they gave them away to Baltimore. So it was like, are they tanking? I don't know.
They really wanted that number 1 overall draft pick.
Yeah. And part of what was happening there, I think there were evolutions of hockey. So if you go back to like 1894, hockey seemed to, just spontaneously happen in like Baltimore, New Haven, New York, Boston. It just, and I think it's the building of the rinks, the initial rinks. Like the initial, and there was no, it's kind of interesting back then, there was no like set measurements. So I think that the Baltimore rink was something silly like 350 feet by 50 feet wide. So the initial one, and then I think they figured out that wasn't that great as they built.
That had to be like whoever scored first wins. That's it. We're exhausted. Yeah. It's over.
Hell of a way to clear than that.
Yeah, it's like playing on
a home run
in Ottawa. Yep. So, and a lot of people don't know Baltimore actually had a really good amateur hockey program up until their arena burnt down, and that's part of the EHL history in '55, and that actually led to the Southern expansion because they needed their arena burns down in January '56, and they need somewhere to go. Charlotte just built an arena. So let's take back to 32, 33 along with building. So 1894 they're building rinks. Around 1930 they're building arenas in different cities. New Haven, Atlantic City, the convention center there that's still going strong. The Hershey, the old Hershey Park Arena, I got to visit that a couple of years ago. Must have been an amazing place to see a game. And what was the other one? Oh, Baltimore had the Carlin's Park Arena. So it was the building of the arenas, and then suddenly they've got amateur teams, and they've got to play each other. And they played a lot of New York teams also. And at the time, of the league, there was just as much amateur play as league play. The league play was almost secondary to all the amateur games. So 32-33, the season ends, and that was called the Tri-State League. And then 33-34, literally the first week of December, Philadelphia, I don't know if they kicked them out or they just dropped out. I think they just dropped out, the 0-16 Comets. And they needed, they had a 3-team league. So they merged with 4 teams from the Metropolitan League of New York, amateur teams that they've been playing anyway on the side, and that became the initial EHL. Actually the EAHL at that time, Eastern Amateur Hockey League. So that continued. Teams came, teams went. There tended to be, along the Northeast Corridor, the big cities in the Northeast Corridor: Washington, Baltimore, Philadelphia, New York, Boston, were your kind of mainstays within the league as teams moved around. We had the Depression, we had World War II, and there were things that affected the teams. So then we get up to like 52, 53 was kind of the last season of the EAHL. They disbanded for a season. And then when they came back, that's really the start of the era that we deal with mostly, which is 1954 to 73. There were 5 teams that started, including the Clinton Comets, the New Haven Blades. They had a team in New Haven for 2 years, different names in the EHL just before that. New Haven had an AHL team for many years before that. Who am I missing here? Baltimore Clippers and the Washington Lions down at the Uline Arena in Washington. So 4 of those teams, the Worcester teams they were an amateur team that was made up of U.S. players. It was a Tom Lockhart experiment, the president of the league, and since he was also president of the AHAUS, he was trying to get a team of amateur players and say, hey, how will they play against professionals? And so he took the Brooklyn Olympics team that had been a mainstay in the EHL, and he moved them to Worcester. And it was they played one night a week. They basically came in from all over New England one night a week and played on Tuesday nights. And not too long into the season, some of the players found out that some of the other players were getting paid under the table, and the thing just went to heck. They were just getting their footing. And so they went 3-17 that year, and that was it for them. That was it for them. The one main player to know from that team was Butch Songen, who you may recognize as the first quarterback for the AFL Boston Patriots in 1960. Oh wow! He played defense for the Worcester Warriors. So.
I did not know that.
And there were a few guys like that. There was Bob Taylor was a flanker in the CFL, the all-star flanker in the Canadian Football League. And every year after the season ended, he'd come play. He played for Jersey, he played for Salem, he played for Johnstown. I think he played for New Haven one year. He might have started at New Haven. And, so he'd play a full CFL season and then come in and play the full rest of the season, like starting in November, play the full rest of the EHL season.
So that's where Bo Jackson got the idea from.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let me see. There was one other guy I was thinking along those lines. I'll think of it later, maybe. After we're done.
We'll think of it at 3:00 in the morning. You wake up and go, "Oh, that was it." Thanks,
that was that guy. I should have told him. Yeah. So anyway, the other 4 teams and these teams went through most of the length. So there was the Clinton Comets, who were the one team that played every year from 54 to 73. Now in 54, they only played a partial schedule because a week earlier, before the league got organized, they had signed up for I think it was the Northern Ontario Hockey League. So they played a full schedule of games there and also played 20 games in the EHL, not including playoffs. There was the Washington Lions, who became the Washington Presidents in 1957. And they moved to Jersey in 1960 and became the Jersey Larks for one season. Unfortunately, they didn't really get going until just before the playoffs, so they didn't really get the fan base. And so they moved to a brand new arena in Knoxville, Tennessee, became the Knoxville Knights until 1968. The Baltimore Clippers, they, in 56, as I was saying, their arena burned down. And so they needed an arena real quick. They became a traveling squad. By the end of the season, they were down to 8 players. And, you know, that was their whole traveling team. And, you know, and they ended up playing 5 games in the new Charlotte Coliseum, which is still the arena that the Charlotte Checkers are playing in. The AHL Charlotte Checkers are playing. I hope to get down there for these days. And then so I said Baltimore, Washington, Clinton, and then New Haven. And then New Haven made it to 71, 72. And then New Haven built the New Haven Coliseum, and they put an AHL team in the league. So that season the owner moved the team to Springfield, which also had an AHL team, but they played in the played in the Big E Coliseum there in the Springfield Coliseum, which another awesome place. Would love to have seen a game there, but unfortunately they just admit that Springfield just wasn't big enough for 2 hockey teams, and they folded by the end of November. They also lost support. They were supposed to be a farm team of the New England Whalers, and they lost support. They kind of had a falling out.
Right. And, just for our local fans, just so, because obviously the Clinton Comets are legendary up here.
Absolutely.
And in talking, I kind of just connected the dots from what you were saying. Mr. Lockhart there, the commissioner, you said he was with the AAU, correct?
He started with the AAU and then later became the president of the of A-House, AH.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because if I'm not mistaken, Edward Stanley, who was the driving force behind the Clinton Comets, was also involved with that.
Yes.
So if I'm connecting the dots correctly, that's maybe how they got to know each other and how Clinton came about to get into the Eastern League.
It was, and there's a gap in my understanding from the newspaper articles on this. There was supposed to be a meeting to start a New York State League in 1954, and so they had, so they had Clinton, they had Troy, they had Troy, who had been in the EHL in 52, 53. They had Lake Placid. And I forgot a couple other places. And then somehow, when that meeting happened, that turned into the EHL meeting. And, so people came in from everywhere.
Right.
And Clinton, became a part of that. But yeah, I'm sure, like I said, the amateur teams back then, even up into the early 50s, they were as much interested in the amateur play outside of league as they were inside. So I'm sure Stanley and Lockhart knew each other, well before that.
Sure, because even if it was amateur players, they were still paying to get in. The fans were, so I'm sure there was still money to be made, right?
Right. Yeah. And Lockhart also was president of the I don't know if he was president. He was manager for a while of the New York Rovers. He was always involved with the New York Rovers, and they were initially in the EHL. They were the Hamilton Crescent Athletic Club, and then in 35, that they became the New York Rovers. That was the same year that the Rangers put the Philadelphia Ramblers in the AHL. So they had the Ramblers, the Rovers, and the Rangers. That was, as their minor league system.
And who would know that Philadelphia and the Rangers would become such bitter rivals later on, right?
Yeah.
Who knew?
Yeah.
But, it's one of those things. I mean, and I was kind of sort of starting to touch on it earlier. the EHL really is responsible for putting roots in the South as far as hockey goes.
Yes, thank you.
And looking at some of these teams that were there.
Yeah, so that was part of the second wave of arena building. So like in the 50s, starting in the like early to mid 50s, places were the cities along the South that were growing very much so. Like a place like Charlotte, that was still kind of a small town in 1955. The arena was kind of out the end of not so much going on there, and now it's right in the middle of everything. But so actually, the first and we've all kind of long thought that the first hockey game in the South, we're not including Baltimore or Washington below the Mason-Dixon line, was the first game where Baltimore went to Charlotte. And they, by the way, had a sellout crowd, 10,000 fans, 3,000 turned away for the first game. It was just like new and exciting. I mean, they've got this brand new arena, and suddenly hockey. What's that? And everybody was all on board for that. So actually, but if you backstep a little bit to 1952, at the end of the season, the Lockhart sent the Boston. I think it was the Boston Olympics and. Forgotten who the other. Oh, I think it was New Haven. Yeah, Boston and New Haven down to Raleigh to the McReynolds Coliseum, and they played a series of 2 games down there that was very well received, and there was definitely interest in putting a team in Raleigh. And that was probably the first hockey game in the South. If you don't include 1938-39, there was the Tropical Hockey League in Miami that in theory had teams from 4 different places: Havana, Miami Beach, Miami, and I forgot what the other one was. Which basically every weekend they fly in Canadian players and they play at this one rink and put on 4 different uniforms and so that was.
It sounds like our beer league, Jeremy.
Yeah, it does. I was just about to say
was a lot of
that sounds like some
but it only
vacation beer league right there.
Yeah, so that only lasted 1 year. So if you count that, then yeah, that was the first hockey in the South. Other than that, an actual league that isn't just contained like that, then the game in Raleigh was most likely the first game in the South. Now, also realize the South includes Texas, who had teams in Dallas and Fort Worth well before that, back in the 40s at least. But yeah, so that game in Raleigh, the McReynolds Coliseum where the NC State plays. But unfortunately, the sight lines at McReynolds, the upper tier couldn't see along the boards at all, so they could only see like half the arena. So that wasn't going to work out for more than just like some exhibition games. And they had the State Fair arena there, but they couldn't. Everybody thought everybody else was going to do the ice plant, so the arena thought the league was going to do it. The league thought, the city was going to do it. The city thought, so it ended up nobody did it. And there was a similar situation 2 years or in '56 when the Clippers officially moved from Baltimore to Charlotte, where the Washington Lions were going to move to Winston-Salem. And in fact, Jack Riley, who later was GM of the Penguins, you may remember, back in the 60s, he was the GM of the Washington Lions, and he moved down to become arena manager in Winston-Salem and take in this team. Well, this is another one of those gaps in the newspaper articles I can't find, because they were awarded the Washington Lions and they were going to be the Winston-Salem Lions. And next thing you know, Washington still has a team, and Winston-Salem is not in the conversation anymore. So I can only guess that same deal, that nobody would buy nobody would pony up for the ice plant. So it wasn't until Greensburg came along in 58 and 59-60 that we got that second Southern team in there. And then, as I said, the next year, 60-61, the Jersey Larks team moved to Knoxville to become the Knoxville Knights. And then the following season, the Nashville, again, all these places are coming up with brand new arenas. The northern arenas are all small, kind of cinder blocky kind of places, mostly. And the southern arenas are these big, beautiful coliseums that, they can see 8,000-10,000. And, so it was almost kind of like two different leagues. From that standpoint, and they did tend to keep the schedule so the northern teams played more the north and southern teams played the south.
Travel considerations.
63-64, Jacksonville comes in. They'd had a Coliseum. They played an exhibition there in 61, I think, when they first opened. So the EHL was the first league to play in North Carolina, the Raleigh game. Georgia, the Jacksonville Rockets played 6 games in 1968 in Macon and where today's Macon, forgotten what they're called now, in the Southern League, but that same arena. Let me see, Mississippi. The first hockey game in Mississippi, the Nashville Dixie Flyers played a few games down in blanking out, capital
Jackson, Mississippi.
Yes, thank you.
Yep.
Hey, good. You got a little star there. I was just checking.
I threw a dart. I guess.
Yeah. There's a lot of hockey in Biloxi too.
Yeah.
What's that?
A lot of hockey in Biloxi too.
There is now.
Yep.
And we hope the EHL paved the way. First hockey game in Virginia was the first hockey game that the Salem Rebels, which Salem was the team right next to Roanoke, Virginia, in 1967, in October 67. So that was the first hockey game in Virginia. And that was at a time when, like, Richmond, Hampton Roads, Norfolk, they were all building arenas at the same time. Hampton later came into the ECHL. The famed, if you say EHL to anybody, the one name that's always going to come up is John Brophy. I mean, he was like,
how could it not?
He's the one guy, he coached at Hampton Roads for many years. He also, for all of his antics as a player, I think he still has the second most wins of any coach in hockey. Behind. Oh gosh, I have a bad memory for names. Fortunately, I haven't showed up too much tonight yet.
Well, his players were probably afraid to lose. That was.
What's that?
His players were probably afraid to lose. You don't want to face the coach in the locker room after that.
Absolutely, and
great motivator.
He was going to do anything to win, and that was that. Just such an appreciation of that for him. Did he use his stick a lot? Yeah. Did he knock over some referees? Yeah. But he was going to do. Anything. He wanted to win. And that was the only thing. He was supposed to be a really good guy off the ice, but
that's what I heard. I heard. And of course, the fans up here, certainly old time fans, anyways, remember the Long Island Ducks from the days with the Comets, of course.
Yep.
Quite the rivalry, that's for sure.
Right.
We keep coming back to the Clinton Comets, and I'm assuming you've been to the Clinton Arena, correct?
I have. In 2010. 2 years after I started all this, it was like I had only been ever to Cherry Hill Arena, which is where the Jersey Devils play, as you know, and as you'll tell us about later. I had gone to the year before I'd gone to the Mount St. Charles Arena in Woonsocket, Rhode Island, where the 1 year Rhode Island Eagles played 72-73 for the in the EHL 72-73. So so I made a New York EHL road trip because I wanted to see some arenas, and I definitely wanted to go to Clinton. That was my big stop. So I got to the Clinton Arena, I got to Alteri's, I got to the Clinton Historical Society. Loved it. Just definitely want to get back.
Oh, they did such a great job, especially after they won the 2018 Kraft Hockeyville.
Yeah,
which was
I haven't seen it after that. So, but you can just the upstairs there, just to look along those boards with all, they still keep the Clinton Comets alive, and I think that's one of the things with the EHL. There's just something, I don't know, magical about it that just everybody loved it, and I don't have a way of expressing what exactly that was. But their whole upstairs is just clippings and programs and jerseys and sticks and memorabilia from all their teams from 54 to 73. It's just it's a gallery in itself, as is Alteri's, which is
it's another gallery.
Restaurant / bar there for those who haven't been to Clinton. Definitely go. So that was one. And of course, I went to the Utica Arena. I went to both arenas in Syracuse, and then came back. As I came back to Troy, I went, wait a second, that arena was at RPI, and I figured out where to go there. Yeah, so I got to visit that one. So I got to visit them all, even though I had to sneak in the back of the state fairgrounds in Syracuse. And there was actually like a homeless guy guarding the door, and I was like,
Well, Tom, you were like John Brophy. You'll do anything to win. Don't worry.
Well, I kind of did that when I got this whole EHL idea. There was really like, oh man, I have really got to just shut this down. I'm going to be the EHL guy. There's other people's. I mean, there's. There was Jim Mancuso and Fred Zalatin. I'm not sure. Probably hatched. Messed up.
I know Barry knows who that is.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I have that book with every member of the team signed it.
Oh, that's awesome! That's awesome. Yeah.
And while I'm at it, I'd like to personally welcome you to the rink next time you're up. I've been drooling.
Oh, absolutely.
I've been drooling because all the teams that you mentioned, I have trophies from the players that played in those.
You do? Oh, my goodness.
I have programs, scrapbooks from all those teams, jerseys, the sticks.
Yeah, so you're the one that's been outbidding me. So
I would love to have you. I've been drooling as you were talking. It's like, I had that.
Gonna be more blood spilled here on the show.
Well, no, Bumper's not here this week. Don't worry about it. All right.
Do you have the Walker Cup? That's the big one.
No, I don't. Yeah. I do have my oldest piece is a old tin-plated printing press from the Devils when they played the Johnstown Jets. It's about 2 feet high. It's like a regular newspaper, but it's the It has a picture of the Devils. But I gave it to a friend of mine, Reggie Kent. He played for the Johnstown.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
He's been up here a couple of times, and I gave it to him because it had a picture of him scoring, and the box score had his name on it. So I gave it to him. But I have other items like that up here.
Was that the one that was on eBay for a while?
Yeah.
I never looked that closely at it. I saw
it was about a year and a half ago.
what I was like, what am I going to do with that?
I framed it. And I had it up in the rink, but Reggie has it in his house now.
There you go. That's cool. Yeah, Reggie's
awesome.
The guy. He's in our group. Yeah. So anything I can't fit in here, not including programs, I have over 300 programs and books. I don't collect. So.
Well, Barry does. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, no, he got it. Yeah. Yeah. So speaking of the Walker Cup, that's something we're trying to find. The Walker, there were 3 major trophies in the EHL: the Hershey Trophy, the Atlantic City Boardwalk Trophy, and the Walker Cup. The Walker Cup was originally for New York amateur hockey in 1926. Somebody found it in a pawn shop window and said, "Hey, won't that make a great EHL trophy?" in 1933, and it might have been Lockhart.
Was it named for Jimmy Walker, the famous mayor of New York City?
Yes, absolutely.
Really?
Yes.
Hey,
yes.
see?
Walker,
Yeah. Wow. How do you like that?
Where's your phone, Scott?
Yeah.
Every once in a while, there's a little retention up there.
What do you think, Professor? Where did he pull that from?
I'm gonna go Google.
Right.
No. Dave's my witness. My phone's been sitting here the whole time.
It's been sitting there. He didn't touch it.
Yeah. So anyway, the Walker, each of these trophies over the years got awarded for different things. And in fact, at one time, the Atlantic City Boardwalk Trophy was the playoff champion. And then one year, they brought the wrong trophy to the finals. And so the Walker Cup became somewhere like in the early 60s. And I haven't found the newspaper. That's still hearsay. But I still haven't found the newspaper article for that, which year that happened. So the Walker Cup became the championship trophy for the playoffs. In 1973, when the Syracuse Blazers won it, apparently when they were skating around the ice with it, it collapsed. So I've heard like 100 pieces. I've heard 3 pieces. Who knows? But
I'm still trying to get back to that whole wrong trophy.
Yeah, we know it was in their offices at least in the late 70s. But after that, nobody knows exactly where it went to. They did find the Atlantic City Boardwalk Trophy. I think it was sitting in a bar. There's actually an article out on the web on it, and I'm going to be disappointed. I can't think of the guy who wrote the article. But if you look up Atlantic City Boardwalk Trophy, if that's very exciting to you, you can find out how that was found. But we would really like to find that and get it to the Hockey Hall of Fame if at all.
I wonder if the other Hall of Fames have it, like the original Hockey Hall of Fame in Kingston, or maybe the U.S. Hall of Fame in Evelyn, Minnesota.
We haven't. I don't know that any of us had checked there. I mean, it's possible. I think the conspiracy theory is that the owner of the Blazers had it, and just it was somebody. I think somebody thought it was a planter in somebody's house in Florida. So, and I mean, what do you do with it?
I can just see the looks on those guys' faces with the wrong trophy. Oh, well, hey, we won the Bellevue Rose Garden Club.
Yeah, right.
This is great.
Well, I came across this the other day. It has a hockey. No, it's not it.
No. What is that?
This is a silver baseball trophy with the Baltimore Clippers logo on it. It belonged to Terry Reardon, the coach.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And
so
he was in his office his entire time with Baltimore. And I have items like this. I didn't want you to think it was a Walker Cup. But, it'd be kind of nice.
I was going to say Tom was about to go and get in his car. That was it. Yeah. I can make it to New York in about 5 hours.
I just contact somebody there, and they'd be knocking on your door pretty quick.
Run, Barry, run. Oh man, that is great. That is great. Well, Tom, I hope you're going to stick around for the rest of the show, because I was telling you earlier, that Zamboni Time Machine is going to be real interesting for you. and I'm going to want your input on it too.
I'm definitely in on that. Yeah.
All right, beautiful. So we're going to take a quick commercial break. And like we always do, we always end our first segment with our breakaway trivia. And this week's breakaway trivia is, what franchise has had the most number one overall draft picks in the NHL since 1967? The answer when we come back.
Visit My Little Falls and stay connected with the latest news, information, and events in the city. Our mission is to generate interest in the community and connect residents in a more meaningful way by facilitating deeper conversations about how these stories will shape the future of Little Falls, New York. Join thousands of weekly visitors who stay up to date with feature stories, interviews, videos, and our events calendar. It's about timely local news for the community, keeping citizens informed about important issues, telling stories about the people who live and work here, and giving locally owned businesses the opportunity to reach a very targeted audience of local residents and tourists alike. It's a whole new form of media-rich content developed specifically for today's mobile lifestyle and listeners. You can download our iOS app in the iTunes store or sign up for our weekly newsletter. Stop by today at mylittlefalls.com. You'll be glad you did.
And we're back with segment 2 of Marty's Illegal Stick, the Hockey Hot Takes. And as we always do, we're going to answer breakaway trivia before we get going. And I'll give you guys the question one more time just in case you forgot. So, what franchise has the most number one overall draft picks in the NHL since 1967? And I'll even give you a little hint. There's actually 4 correct answers on this. So let's see if you guys can get one. Anyways, Barry, I'll start with you.
Montreal Canadiens.
That's one of them.
Mm-hmm. New York Rangers.
Nope.
Oh.
Hey, you got one though. He's on the board.
All right.
All right.
Yep. I'll just stick with that.
Okay. Professor, what do you think? Give me one of them. We've already got the Canadian.
I was going to go with Canadians too. Detroit.
Nope.
No. Oh.
Tom, what do you think?
Minnesota North Stars.
Close, but no.
Oh.
Close. So the answers are the Montreal Canadiens, the New York Islanders, the Edmonton Oilers, and the Quebec Nordique Colorado Avalanche franchise. Each of those teams has had 4 number one overall picks since 1967.
Wow.
Remember
that homework question you asked me about?
What's that?
With the remember Martin Brodeurs?
Oh,
son? Yeah. His son plays for the Binghamton Devils.
Yeah, really.
So he will be a Utica Comet.
That's awesome. That is awesome. I thought you said the homework question. I was like,
no, homework. You gave him homework.
I was like, wait, how did this go to Homer Simpson? What's going on here?
Yeah. And Martin Brodeurs' dad played for the Charlotte Clippers in 57-58. He was a goalie for the Clippers.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
And then he became a great photographer for the Montreal Canadiens.
Right.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Yeah. So, guys, I don't know if you noticed or not, but Dave got bored with the background in the commercial break.
I saw that.
Go ahead and explain what that is, Dave.
That looks like a chandelier.
No, it's Hex-Mex.
Yeah.
Oh,
his head is still in Austin, Texas, everybody. That's
I was trying to get Scott just thinking about food.
Yeah, thanks, pal.
Yeah.
You're all hard.
All right.
So before we get going, I just want to let everybody know that friend of the show, Jimmy Iceman McNeil, now has his book, The Red and White Zamboni Ice Machine, available. If you would like a copy, you can email him at mac_Iceman@hotmail.com, and we will also have his email address up on our Facebook page and our website. Great book. He just sent us our copies, and it's really cool, especially if you got kids. It's awesome. So our first item is, Jeremy, you're going to love this one. The New York Rangers' search for a head coach is now over, as they have hired Gerard Gallant for the position. He has previously coached in Columbus, Florida, and Vegas. Well, what's your thoughts on the hire?
Who, me?
Sure.
I mean, I like it. I mean, it's one of the guys that I would have on a list that they had, or all the guys that were available. I thought he was probably the best one out there, one of the best out there. I like his system, obviously. Obviously, winning the gold medal this year in the WIHF is another big one. another resume builder for him. So, I mean, his style, I think, will fit. Obviously, you can coach young guys, coming out of Canada, winning that gold medal. So I think with all the young guys that we have, it's going to benefit them. We've touched on it a few times. Will the older guys be able to stick through it, or, what are they going to move? Who are they going to move, or what are they going to move? So I think now, since Gallant's in and named, now I think he really just has to take hold and see what's the next steps for in the offseason.
Yeah, definitely. How about you guys, Tom, Barry? Any thoughts on it?
I think he's going to get along great with the players. I have a friend who was in that tournament and had Gerard as his coach, and he loved him. All the players loved him, and he's had a pretty good track record. I think he's going to. I don't know how he deals with the management, but as far as the players, in New York, I think you have to deal with the management more than you have to deal with the players. But as far as Andy, Michael Bunting, who played in the tournament, his dad wrote me last night and said Andy just loved playing for him, and all the players loved, and they would do anything for him. So, it's like, if they win, I think there'll be no problems. But then once, if they start losing, I think he's going to feel pressure from the New York management.
That's just it. And the management, they gotta just step away for just a little bit. I mean, at least give them 2 seasons. I mean, the team's there. The team's there. Now it's just time to get the system in.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's kind of what I wonder too, because I mean, obviously he's always been a player's coach. They loved him in Vegas. They loved him in Florida. They loved him obviously with Team Canada. But the one knock against Gerard Gallant is he doesn't play well in the sandbox with management.
No.
Which is why he was pretty much unceremoniously dumped in Florida. And then surprisingly out of nowhere, they let him go in Vegas, which the Vegas was a really surprising one, because there was no visible reason as to why to do that. I mean, that team was, first place.
Won the cup.
And then also,
you won the cup. Bye.
See ya.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's why I didn't have a comment on it, because I don't know how to, I don't know how to read that, how Vegas just dumped them like that, because it's like, what did he something clearly was wrong. I just don't know what it is. So
right.
But it's also the Rangers, so there's a level of this ain't gonna work because it's the Rangers.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, with all the turmoil right now. I mean, they're saying that Chris Drury is, in charge, so to speak, but everybody knows that Glenn Sather is still behind the curtain pulling some strings. He's got Jim Dolan's ear. There's no doubt about it. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting. Like you said, Jeremy, I hope they give them a little bit of time anyway. I think obviously next season is going to be critical. If by the All-Star break they're not looking like they're going to be a playoff contender, I hope not, but I would almost guess that the seat's going to start getting hot right away.
Well, I mean, he signed a 4-year deal?
I thought it was 3, but it could have been 4. I didn't quite catch that.
I think it might have been a 4-year deal. And I mean, like I said, with the team that the Rangers have, Quinn, not a bad coach. I think he's just a little too young and he's still a little too green to be in the NHL. Maybe should have went down to the AHL level probably sooner than he jumped right into the hot seat of the NHL. But with the system that was there, I don't know how much is going to change. I mean, you have the skill guys, you have the speed, you have a very young defense. Obviously they're going to need some power guys. They're going to need, Kreider can't just be the only power guy you have. I mean, Buchnevich kind of came on this year as another power guy, but I mean, he's not Kreider.
You know what though? They don't need power guys. They need grit. And if you're going to have Gerard Gallant coaching it, that's what you got to have.
That's what
you don't necessarily need a power guy that's going to score you 25, 30 goals a season.
Oh, no,
you need that guy that's going to get dirty in the corners, and who cares how much he scores, right?
Well, that's what I mean by the power guy. You need a gritty guy. You need not obviously the enforcer term's kind of gone in the NHL now, but I mean you do need somebody like a Ryan Reeves. You need somebody like Tom Wilson. As much as I don't like him.
There we go.
But I mean you need that guy that will go and get dirty and protect their player.
Tom, about a month ago, Jeremy almost had to go to the hospital over Tom Wilson.
Okay.
We almost had to call an ambulance for him.
I will let you know I'm a former Cap season ticket holder. So
Really?
Yeah. I moved to Virginia after college. The first 2 years, I got one season ticket. I drove an hour and a half each way to get there. And, I would sit after the game until they threw me out, just so I would spend more time at the arena than in the car. But yeah, the Langway years, the first 2 years of Langway.
Oh, wow. So you were going to the Cap Center then?
I literally, they had a Save the Caps campaign that summer, and I was like, oh great, I move here, and they're moving away. So I got my one season ticket for $400.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And halfway up the bowl, center ice, just perfect seat. And then after that, it was this is kind of silly. So I got 10 game plans through the 80s. But yeah, It's still definitely my team. And don't say nothing too bad about Tom Wilson, okay?
Great. That is awesome. I like season already.
I like him more than Crosby, so I mean, I guess
there you go. Yeah.
Oh, look at that! Everybody found something they can agree on. Isn't that nice? Yeah. Oh boy. So Owen Power is reportedly leaning towards returning to the University of Michigan for one more season of college hockey, as opposed to turning pro. Power is expected to be a top 3 pick in this year's NHL draft, if not the number 1 overall pick. Is this a good move on his part? I actually think so.
Yes.
And it's not just because you're a Michigan fan, Jeremy.
No. Yes and no. But, I mean, for him, what is he, 18 years old?
Yeah.
And, I mean, yes, he plays a great game. But you can see it. I mean, I watched a lot of Michigan hockey this year, and you see even the announcers. You get some of the old college announcers that understand the game, and you see them, and they'll criticize them. They'll critique him and say, "Listen, he's got great skill, he's got great hands, he's got great feet, but here's where he shouldn't do what he's doing. And if he does it in the NHL, he'll get burned. And that's just give him that another season and have him go under another wing and more training. Obviously, yes, he's going to make it to the NHL." So why not get the skill set that you need, get the skills that you need, and learn while you can learn?
Exactly. Especially a position like defense, where there seems to be so much more. You need more time to develop, I guess is what I wanted to say.
Especially in the game now. I mean, the game now is
that's the thing. And and I don't know about what you guys think, but I almost tend to think now that these top draft picks are rushed just a little bit too much. Ever since like a Connor McDavid came along, right? It's all of a sudden the expectation is if you're a number 1 overall pick, you got to be in the NHL the following year, and you got to be in a top 10 scoring capacity or in a top 10 player of your position. And what people don't realize is that's more of an anomaly than anything else.
Well, look at Hughes for New Jersey.
Right. You don't think he could have used another year of development at the AHL? Or
he could have. I mean, Quinn Hughes is, I don't know how he's doing it. I don't know how he did it.
Well, you know what Quinn Hughes is doing? I mean, he's obviously living on offense, but he's a liability on defense. Yeah. I'm just going to say it. I mean, being a West Coast hockey fan, I tend to watch a lot of the West Coast games, and Quinn Hughes is very exciting to watch, but I certainly wouldn't want him out on the ice with a minute left to go trying to protect a lead.
No, I mean, that's just it. I mean, he's got to be one of the smallest defensemen out there.
Right.
I mean, he's tiny. But, I mean, again, you look at his brother, they're like night and day right now. And Quinn made the jump right out of college to the pro. And his brother is just...
And in all fairness, Jack did start coming on towards the end of the year. But
then again, sit
the expectations. And Quinn wasn't a number 1 overall pick either.
No, he wasn't. No.
So, yeah, I really do think that, especially now that the NCAA has grown leaps and bounds too, as far as skill level and developmental level. It used to be years ago where if you were going to develop, you had to go to either the Ontario Hockey League, the Q, or the Western Hockey League. And it's really not that way anymore. There's so many more options available. So, what do you guys think? Is that a pretty good move for him? Or
outside of hockey, I think it's great because, I'm all for education and, who knows, hockey players, baseball players, football players, their careers could end tomorrow. And yeah, it'll be good for him to get some more skill, learn more about the game. And on the other hand, stay in school, get your degree, and then, go on and play hockey. And, if something happens, at least he has something to fall back on.
Well, I don't think he's going to stay for all 4 years to get the degree, but he can finish that up online.
Yeah.
So we touched on the World Championships with Barry mentioning Michael Bunting, which was very exciting following that on the Rink of Dreams. And it's always great to see Michael and Andy on there contributing. That's really awesome. Yeah. So it was a really cool puck you made up for him too. So
thanks.
So our last item is the Final Four is set in the Stanley Cup playoffs with the Islanders playing the Lightning and the Canadiens taking on the Golden Knights. The Isles and Golden Knights each have a 1-0 series lead as of tonight. So who is going to be in the final, guys, and why? Tom, we'll start with you. I'll put you on the spot.
Well, I'm a Barry Trotz guy.
Me too.
My in-laws are from Portland, so I got to see him before he even came up, when he was with the Caps organization. He was coaching the Portland Pirates, and I was always amazed how his teams, they were so regimented. They knew that, their plays they were making. So anyway, and of course Varlamov. So a couple
all right.
I'm. If you saw my pool for this year, you wouldn't be asking me questions. I just totally.
Yeah, well, you should have seen ours.
I think I missed 6 in the first round, and I may have. I don't think I have any in this. I don't think I have any of the Final Four. So the playoffs are such a crapshoot sometimes. Of course, being a Caps fan, any team could beat them on a given year. So I more go with favorites, and if I can have Montreal and Vegas in the final, that would be my picks. Why? Because I like them. It's I don't. I like Montreal is really rolling out 4 lines right now, and sure. I think they've got some excellent balance, and I think they were a bit underrated because they had a lot of guys hurt at the end of the year that suddenly showed up at playoff time, and so I'll go out on a limb and say we'll go Montreal and the Islanders. And maybe Montreal taking it all, and my friend Chris just So
I got to tell you, I agree with that. I agree with the Islanders and the Habs in the final, because you want to talk about 2 teams that are actually built for the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Very similar, right? They can both roll 4 lines. They both have outstanding goaltending, and that's not to take away from the Lightning. Obviously, the Lightning are the defending champs. But I mean, there's obviously the Lightning are one of those teams that don't like to have somebody in their face. They still don't after all this time. I mean, like I said, tremendously talented team. But again, if you can play physical and if you can shut them down,
they're beatable.
Exactly. Yeah. And I don't know. On paper, it looks like the Golden Knights should destroy the Canadiens. But something always tells me do not bet against a hot goaltender. And Carey Price, other than the first game of the series, which throw that game out, he's been outstanding.
Yeah, who's the best player? Who's the best goalie in the playoffs right now?
It's either Price or Varlamov.
Yeah.
So. Jeremy, what you got?
I would love to see Montreal and the Islanders. Obviously, the Montreal-Vegas series, that's falling on goaltending alone. I mean, the skill. I mean, I think the injuries are hurting Montreal. Right. Carey Price is an excellent goaltender, and you saw that last night. I mean, Montreal came out flying. You had Marc-Andre Fleury come out of the net, play the puck bad, and they just couldn't put the puck in quick enough. If Montreal gets out in front of Vegas, will Vegas have a little bit of trouble? Sure. But the problem is you got to get out in front of Vegas. And I don't think they can. I don't think Montreal can get out in front of them. I just think that, they're there. But I just don't think they can put 3 full periods together against Marc-Andre Fleury. And because you have the players that can do it for Vegas. Carey Price has an injured, battered line right now. So, I'll take Vegas, obviously, not just because of the favorite, just because I think right now it's just, Fleury's playing out of his head. He's playing out of his
this
mind.
is after you had them getting knocked out in the first round.
I know. Well, I really wanted him to.
Yeah, me too. Barry. I'm sorry.
As for the Islanders series, with Tampa Bay, that can go either way. I think this series is going to go 7. Obviously, they say if you lose a home game, you're in trouble. But I think it's Tampa Bay. They're going to bounce back tonight. I see the first goal happening within the first 5 minutes, and Tampa Bay I think is just going to come out and they're going to be ready to play again. They, like you said, they don't like anybody in their face, and the Islanders are going to be in your face. Mm-hmm. But I think you just have too much firepower.
Right. Well, you know what? Tampa Bay is in pretty much a must-win tonight because they don't want to go back to Nassau Coliseum.
And that's I would love to see that Nassau Coliseum close out. Going to the Cup. That would be awesome. But
and that's coming as a Rangers fan.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is. Maybe it's just the New York hometown roots that I'm just
right.
I'm looking at the screen and I see Ranger, but it's still the Islanders.
Even with all those ex-Rangers playing on the Lightning, it's amazing. Barry, who you got?
Well, I think it's going to be Tampa.
Uh-oh, the screen froze.
Well, he said Tampa.
Wow. We don't know what
Tampa
he thinks.
And to be determined.
It's a lock.
Yeah. Well, we don't know what happened to Barry's screen here, so we'll get his answer when we come back. That's but before we go, I'm going to give you our website of the week. Our website of the week is brought to you by 315hockey.com. 315hockey.com is your news hub for all levels of hockey in Central New York. This week's website of the week is evolving-hockey.com. Pretty cool analytics website. I don't always understand all the analytics end of it. Maybe because I don't make that much of an effort to, but if you are into analytics, this is a good place to go. So while Barry is frozen in time, we are going to go take our last commercial break. There's that picture too that he froze on. It's hysterical. Sorry. When we come back, we're going to take a ride on that Zamboni Time Machine. We'll see you in a minute.
Need to find that gift for someone special? Visit Little Falls Presents at the Stone Mill and Canal Place. Stop by today to find unique artist work, T-shirts, coffee cups, gift towels, greeting cards, tote bags, koozies, and original oil paintings and prints. It's all about the art of the gift. For more information, visit mylittlefalls.com/shop or call 315-508-5310 for details.
And we're back for segment 3 of Marty's Illegal Stick. And it looks like Barry has been thawed out like Austin Powers. He's back.
I said Tampa Bay and my whole screen was black. Yeah. All I heard was laughing, and I didn't know it threw me off. But.
So it's going to be Tampa Bay and who?
I think it'll be Vegas because did you see the first game, the energy of the crowd? I think that they play a big role in the games. And it's like going to a Vegas, show, the way they perform before the games. And I don't think going back to Montreal, if I know they'll be loud, but nothing compares with Vegas.
They're not going to be full capacity.
They're not going to be like that.
Yeah, and I think, the emotion of the fans will, put them. I think that they will beat the Canadians with Tampa Bay.
Well, you know what's interesting is it's the Sin City of the United States against the Sin City of Canada.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Barry, you brought up a good point about the fans because everybody's like, oh, the fans are going to be a big factor for the first game, and I'm going. I go, you got to remember, Montreal hasn't seen fans.
Right.
So they don't care. I don't think they came out flying for game 1. I don't think they really cared about the fans. They were just happy to see them.
Yeah, you know what? You know what it kind of reminded me of? Remember Rocky IV right before Drago fought Apollo Creed? When he's standing there alone in the middle of the ring, and then all of a sudden everything opens up. That's what the Canadians must have been like. They're like, whoa, what's this?
Yeah. But I think for having fans, I don't think it was much of a culture shock for Montreal. I think it's going to be a culture shock for Vegas going to Montreal.
Yeah. Like playing in the practice arena because we know fans.
Yeah.
Oh, so let's get going with the Zamboni Time Machine. And Tom, you're going to love this. So I'm gonna need your help at the end for some extra details. Okay.
I played there.
All right. Well, you're going to be able to tell us all about it here. So the Zamboni Time Machine is brought to you by Zamboni.com, and the Zamboni name is used with permission from the Zamboni Company. This week, the Zamboni Time Machine takes us back to 1959 and the opening of the Cherry Hill Arena in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Today's modern sports arenas can be considered nothing short of modern marvels. They provide any creature comfort one can think of, from actual bars and restaurants, gigantic video screens, pyrotechnics, and much, much more. The players love them as well because the locker rooms and facilities have the feel of a luxury resort. While all this is fine and good, it seems that for all these arenas provide entertainment-wise, they all seem to be the same. Not like the arenas of old, which were loaded with quirks that made each one a unique experience in itself. One of these arenas of the past was the Cherry Hill Arena. Cherry Hill is located in southern New Jersey, just across the border from Philadelphia. Opened in 1959, the Cherry Hill Arena was home to the Jersey Larks and then the Jersey Devils of the Eastern Hockey League, and later still the Jersey Knights of the World Hockey Association. The Cherry Hill Arena seated about 4,400 fans, and everything about the arena seemed small. The visitors' locker room was extremely cramped, so much so that opposing teams had to put their uniforms on in their hotels before their games. If that wasn't bad enough, there was also no showers in that locker room, so the players had to take showers at their hotel rooms after the game, and you can imagine how that bus ride back must have smelled. Even the press box was too small. The ceiling was only 4 feet high, which meant reporters and announcers had to duck to get in, and then they couldn't stand up once they were in there. Even the ice surface of the Cherry Hill Arena was different. The rink itself was cockeyed, meaning the visiting team actually had to skate uphill for 2 periods of the game. There were reports of the puck sliding all the way back to the goaltender off the opening faceoff at center ice. The arena's last tenant was just as off-kilter as the arena itself. The Jersey Knights of the WHA took refuge there for the 1973-74 season after failing to catch on in New York City as first the Raiders and then the Golden Blades. They were originally supposed to play in the brand new Nassau Veterans Memorial Coliseum, but the NHL placed the Islanders in that building, so the Knights moved to Madison Square Garden, playing there under the terms of an awful lease. It was not sustainable, and in November of 1973, the team became the Jersey Knights. When the team left the Garden, they were known as the Golden Blades, but because they were locked out of MSG, when they announced the move, they were unable to recover their uniforms. As a result, they had to play in their original Raiders uniforms with the new Knights logo on it. The Knights would leave for San Diego after the season, and despite all of its uniqueness, the Cherry Hill Arena was demolished about 10 years later. And that, my friends, concludes this week's trip on the Zamboni Time Machine. Now, Tom, I got to tell you, when I wrote this today, I had no idea that you were from Southern New Jersey. So as coincidental as all this is, I got to hear some more stories about the Cherry Hill Arena.
You know, it's hard because I have one story, but I don't know if I can say it on the air.
You can say anything you want.
Oh, okay. Oh, nobody watches this.
No, it's only Dave that's going to get the complaints, not me. I'm not worried about it.
Wait a minute. Nobody watches this. Come on.
15 people watch this.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah, you know, I get split reactions on that, the bent ice, you know, whether it was downhill. And I know they redid the floor, and it might have been before I played on it on the 71-72, played on it on the 71-72 season. And, you know, I couldn't tell, but I was never a great skater anyway, so I probably couldn't tell if I was going uphill or downhill. But I hear people say that, yeah, you could shoot the puck, and they insist you could shoot the puck and it would skip, you know, it would hit a mound and skip and that kind of thing. But I also hear other people that are like, yeah, it wasn't, not really. And, you know, so I don't know how much of that. I only actually ever went in the locker room once. And that was, you know, the one time in minor hockey that I actually had to use the bathroom, and so it was
locker room.
It seems small, but I didn't know. It was. We talk about it. As being a dump. I know Gene Hart, the famous Flyers announcer, always just ripped it to shreds. But it was a dump, but it was our dump,
right.
And I didn't have any sense at the time.
Sounds like an Islander thing right there.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah. It's similar. And, we didn't know, I didn't know that it was a lousy arena. Until, I got to other ones and went, oh, okay, this is what a minor league arena might look like, so.
Well,
anyway,
that's what makes those old arenas so quirky, though. That's what you got to love about them.
Oh, yeah.
And then that's why I was saying at the beginning of this, like these modern arenas, they're beautiful. Don't get me wrong. And, you could spend days there, but it's kind of like they're all the same.
Exactly.
Whereas with the old time barns, there was always something that made them different, good, bad, or otherwise.
I want to hit all of. I'm on a journey to hit all of the old EHL barns and hopefully some IHL barns and and others too, because all these 50-year-old arenas they're just great to visit. Great, Clinton Arena just a fabulous play. I can't imagine that, to watch an actual game there must have been just fabulous.
We play there, and it's
with the pros. It was like 2 steps, and they were out of the zone.
Yeah, right.
Like, wait, how are they doing this?
But Jeremy and I play there in our league, and it's just every time at least for me, because I'm such a history nut. Every time I walk into that place, it's like there's this aura about it.
Yeah.
Even with small locker rooms and all that, you're like, wow, at some point there must have been, some EHL player or team that was in this locker room. And it's just kind of, I know you're shaking your head, Jeremy, and you got used to the odd. I get it. But
I've never liked Clinton Arena. Never. I don't know what it is.
Well, you just made an enemy out of Tom. Way to go.
I don't know what it is with it.
So how's the ice? How's the Clinton Arena ice?
It can be rough in the beginning. It does. They did get a new compressor, so that was part of the problem. So.
Oh, okay.
Barry's got an act or something about it.
This is an original chair from Clinton Arena.
Yeah,
nice.
They look almost
it
the
was
same
thrown on the ice about 15 times.
I was going to say how many. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any blood stains on that, Barry, because of hitting somebody in the head? Or
well, Leo said he played there and it probably hit him a couple times.
Oh, I'm sure it did.
But can you imagine, like all the old stadiums? They had chairs like this. They were bolted down. Imagine today. Well, I doubt today people would throw stuff on the ice, but
absolutely.
Not at all.
It was not uncommon to watch a game and see 15, 20 chairs just start, flying on the ice.
I just want to throw an octopus out. That's all.
Then you got to go to Detroit.
No, why can't I start it here?
Well, throw some Tex-Mex on the next. How's that?
I can.
Next time you're at the you can throw your Tex-Mex or your barbecue out there. How's that?
It's not that I don't like the arena. I mean, I love the history behind it and how it burnt down.
And just wait for me in the car after you get thrown out. So.
I think I don't know. I don't know. I think it's the ice. I think it's the ice that I just don't like. I don't like the barn itself is beautiful.
Yeah.
But the ice is just. I mean, there was.
I
think it was
back in the
year
day
before Scotty played. We hit concrete. We were hitting concrete in the corner.
Oh yeah.
We were skating. All of a sudden, you're skating along, and all of a sudden, chatter, and you're going, "What was that?"
Right.
Yeah. I did that at Cherry Hill Arena one time. Hit the blue line, and literally, I've never hit the ground so fast, so hard. It's just like, wow.
Yeah.
Because they were always having trouble with their ice maker. Ice machine. Yeah,
I mean, it gives a whole new meaning to tripping over the blue line, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, guys,
do that anyway, but yeah.
Yeah, right. So, Tom, tell us once more how we can check out your websites and your Facebook page.
Okay, theehl.com. I assume you have the skills to figure that out. No, I should.
A working knowledge of the alphabet helps.
I should, because the people in our like I'm the kid in our group, kind of, because with all the players are at least 10 years older than me generally, and their families and stuff. So a lot of those guys just. If I said, go to theehl.com, they wouldn't have any clue what to do. It's like, can my wife do that? Okay, maybe. Okay. And then just when you go to Facebook, just type in Eastern Hockey League. And unfortunately, we don't have this. I've never gotten around to just getting the / Eastern Hockey League.
Right.
So it's just a bunch of numbers. If you go to theehl.com, you can click on a link from there. And get to the Facebook group. It's a lot of fun. We have a lot of players. I think we've got like 8 or 9 guys from Clinton. We got the whole Kane, Bannerman, Gordon Smith line.
Awesome.
Pete Prevost. We got Ted Tucker. We've got Coach.
Kelly?
Kelly. Thank you. We've got Joe Robertson, Howie Dietrich. So we got a lot of comments on there. Like I said, we've probably got 80, 85 players at this point.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
So
someday you'll have to come back for a comments roundtable or something like that. We'll get a couple of players on.
Sure.
That'd be really cool.
I'm not an expert on them, but I can throw in my 2 cents, and I'll have my other computer up that night, and I can actually research stuff, which is where I'm good. It's
right.
Off the cuff, maybe not.
Sounds like a plan. I like that deal.
Yeah.
Well, Tom, thanks for coming on. We really appreciate you taking the time here, and we've had a blast today.
Yeah, me too. Hopefully I didn't put you too much to sleep with the.
No, not at all. I could have listened for another 3 hours, but I don't know if Dave would. So,
Tom, I'd like to invite you to my Facebook page, The Rink of Dreams. Also, all the players that you mentioned are on the my group also, and I think the greatest thing that you've done is make it available not only to the fans but to the players and their families. Because, like me, I've been having so many family members, daughters and grandsons, and who never paid attention to their dad playing, and they passed, and they see that I had the stuff, and they said, "Do you have anything in my dad?" And I see a program, so I send it to them, and they seem so appreciative that it took this long for them to want to find out about their dad playing or officiating or coaching, and your group, that has a wealth of information, and I'll be sure to pass your group along to anyone who asks for pictures or whatever.
Well, thanks, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. That's fantastic. Well, listen, that's all we got for tonight. So I want to let you guys know that you can find our new episodes every Thursday night at martysillegalstick.com or at mylittlefalls.com. And you can also find us on YouTube on all major podcast platforms under My Little Falls. So for the Professor Jeremy Roberts, for Barry Shelley of the Rink of Dreams, and for Mr. Tom Talar from EasternHockeyLeague.com, or EHL.com, sorry, I am Scott Kinville. Thanks for listening. We will see you next week.